The museum held a knife before the stars. The human said, "I learned from this." The museum floated inside the nebula like a lantern trapped in amber, its crystalline hull refracting the light of dying stars. Inside, corridors curved with quiet reverence, each chamber holding relics predating every known civilization. Dr. Elias Rane moved through the blue glow, his breath shallow with a mix of wonder and disbelief. He'd been invited as an observer, though the alien curators called him something else, witness of origin. Their language carried no direct translation, but the word felt heavier than any title Earth had given him. When he reached the display hall, the crowd of species parted instinctively, letting him approach the artifact. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss our latest uploads. Suspended in a containment field hovered a knife, simple, worn, its edge dulled by time rather than use. A holographic placard pulsed softly. Estimated age 13.4 billion years. Around it shimmered spectrographic data streams, impossible readings that contradicted every known physical law. Elias blinked at the figures, then looked again as though the numbers might change out of courtesy. They didn't. His throat tightened. No alloy should survive that long. No tool forged in any stellar epoch should carry atomic arrangements older than the galaxies themselves. The alien beside him, a tall, blue-skinned curator with crystalline veins, tilted its head in puzzlement. "You seem distressed, human," it said, its voice a harmonic ripple felt rather than heard. "Does this weapon resemble something from your past?" Elias barely registered the question. His gaze traced the knife's handle, wrapped in cracked synthetic leather, familiar grooves molded for human fingers. Not similar, exact. He could almost feel the pressure against his palm, muscle memory twitching as though greeting an old friend. The curvature of the blade was unmistakable, an Earth survival issue field knife, Model 17A, used by colonial trainees in the Mars Frontier Academies 3 centuries ago. He swallowed, memories flashing, dust storms, training drills, and the bitter taste of recycled air. "This can't be right," he muttered, stepping closer to the containment barrier. The energy field shimmered against his breath. "It's mine," murmurs rippled through the onlookers. The curator's pupils contracted into vertical slits of alarm. "Impossible," it said softly. This artifact was recovered from the void rift surrounding the primordial light remnants. It predates your species' emergence by 13 billion years. Elias's pulse pounded. "And yet," he whispered, "I learned with that knife." His reflection stared back at him from the transparent field, pale, sweating, utterly human. The curator regarded him as if he were the anomaly on display. The chamber fell silent. Data scribes flickered in holographic confusion, rerunning age algorithms. The result never changed. One by one, the alien scholars turned toward him, curiosity edging into fear. "Human memory is limited," the curator ventured. "Perhaps you perceive similarity where none exists." Elias tore his eyes away from the knife long enough to meet its gaze. "I remember every scratch on that handle," he said quietly. "The training drones on Phobos Station left that nick near the hilt, and that burn mark, from plasma exposure during survival drills. You can't fabricate details like that." The curator stepped back, its crest dimming. "Then perhaps time itself lies," it whispered. He didn't respond. His mind raced, trying to reconcile the impossible, a personal artifact existing before the universe itself. Outside the transparent walls, the nebula swirled like thought made visible. He recalled the last training exercise before the academy shut down. The strange energy surge, the blackout, the momentary flicker of darkness where sound and gravity collapsed. Could that have been more than a glitch? He gripped the railing for balance as nausea rolled through him. Every scientific instinct screamed to categorize, to quantify, yet something deeper, instinct, maybe memory, told him he was standing before proof of humanity's entanglement with creation itself. "Dr. Rane," said a voice from behind. Another human, Commander Yaran Guyan, representative of the Interstellar Cultural Corps, approached, her boots echoing softly. "They said you were reacting strangely." Her eyes widened at the display. "Is that—" He nodded numbly. "Yes, the knife from my training." She frowned. "Elias, that's physically impossible." "Tell that to them," he murmured, gesturing toward the curators, who now whispered among themselves in harmonic tones of alarm. They carbon-dated the impossible. Yara's gaze lingered on the artifact, then on him. If this is true, she said slowly, we're not looking at archaeology. We're looking at causality folded back on itself. The curator approached again, holding a crystalline data wand. We have scanned the molecular lattice, it announced. The structure shows quantum resonance identical to the first Planck oscillations after cosmic inception. Elias exhaled sharply. You're saying the knife vibrates in sync with the Big Bang? With before the bang, the alien corrected. A tremor passed through the floor as the containment field adjusted to compensate for new readings. Spectral halos shimmered around the knife, patterns like language flickering along its edge. Elias stared until the lines resolved into recognizable shapes. Letters. Human alphabet, archaic English. His breath caught as the words formed. For the first student. Yara took an involuntary step back. What does that mean? Elias's lips moved soundlessly before words emerged. It's what my instructor used to call us, he whispered. He said every human who learns to survive a hostile world is the first student of something greater. The phrase had been metaphorical back then, a poetic pep talk for cadets. Now it glowed in photons older than light itself. The curator's frills trembled. This inscription did not exist before today, it said. The relic is rewriting, gasps echoed through the hall. The letters pulsed brighter, and for an instant the knife's reflection showed not one Elias but 1,000 versions. Young, old, scarred, serene, layered through time. Elias stumbled back, clutching his head as images flooded his mind. Humans across eons, forging tools from stone, steel, and star metal, each echoing the same gesture, the first lesson of survival. The knife wasn't an artifact of time, but a constant, an anchor point through which humanity's persistence resonated. It's us, he whispered. It's always been us. The curator leaned forward, fascinated. Explain. This knife isn't old, Elias said, voice trembling. It's timeless. Every time a human learns, fights, adapts, it manifests. Maybe we created it unconsciously, sending echoes backward. Maybe we're written into the universe deeper than we realize. Yara stared, speechless, as the chamber's air hummed with rising frequency. Light poured from the containment field, bathing them all in spectral radiance. The holographic display flickered, 13.4 billion years old, then shifted, undefined. The field destabilized, ripples spreading outward. Containment integrity failing, a curator barked, its tone nearly human in panic. Elias moved without thinking, instincts from training resurfacing. He stepped to the console, fingers flying over alien controls as though guided by muscle memory. Don't, Yara shouted. You don't know their systems. I do now, he said, surprising himself. The interface responded to his touch, glyphs realigning into English equivalents. It recognizes me, he whispered. It wants to be understood. He stabilized the field just as the energy peaked. When the glare faded, silence returned. The knife floated steady again, faint light pulsing like a heartbeat. The curators stared at him, not with suspicion now, but reverence. Human, the lead curator said softly. You command resonance with an object predating creation. Explain how this is possible. Elias shook his head. I don't know. Maybe humanity isn't as young as we think. Maybe we're memory itself. He turned toward Yara. Tell Earth they're not students anymore. They're teachers. She exhaled shakily, nodding, eyes still locked on the impossible relic. Around them the nebula flared, and for a fleeting instant it felt like the universe was listening. The curator approached, lowering its crest in a gesture of respect. You have altered the parameters of knowledge, it said. We will study this phenomenon. Elias smiled faintly. Be careful what you study, he replied. Sometimes the subject studies back. He looked again at the knife, its edge gleaming with ancient light, and a thought settled deep within him, an echo of that long-ago lesson on survival. Humanity's strength was never technology or power. It was the capacity to learn, to adapt, to remember. Even across cosmic eras, that essence persisted, written in every motion, every tool, every act of creation. He pressed his hand against the containment field. The barrier thrummed beneath his palm, and for a moment he felt warmth, like the pulse of a living thing. The knife's glow responded, flaring once before dimming to a steady shimmer. The inscription shifted again, letters rearranging. Lesson continues. Elias smiled, a quiet, awed smile. Around him, the museum hummed with a new kind of energy. Not fear, not confusion, but reverence. The alien scholars took notes, but none dared interrupt. The stars outside burned a little brighter, or perhaps his eyes had learned to see more clearly. Either way, the universe suddenly felt less empty and infinitely more human. The hum of containment fields faded into a quiet vibration, like the afterglow of thunder trapped beneath glass. Elias stood motionless, pulse steadying as the impossible knife hovered in a pool of cold light. The Curators had surrounded the platform with translucent panels, their glyphs shifting through colors as data streamed upward in spirals. He could sense their excitement, controlled, analytical, yet tinged with awe. Across the hall, Yara spoke softly into her wristcom, reporting to Earth Command that the artifact remained stable. Elias barely heard her. His gaze was fixed on the knife's edge, where light bent slightly inward, as though gravity itself bowed in recognition. The lead curator extended a limb tipped with crystalline filaments toward a new interface node. "We will commence resonance mapping," it announced, its harmonic voice echoing softly. "Your neural patterns, Dr. Rane, may be required for calibration." Elias nodded, stepping closer. A silver ring unfolded from the floor, encircling him in a soft magnetic field. "Just tell me what to do," he said. "Observe and feel," the alien replied. "The knife responds to cognition." He blinked. "You mean thought?" "Awareness," corrected the curator. "It reads the shape of understanding." Yara frowned. "That sounds dangerously metaphorical." The alien gave what might have been a smile. "All great discoveries begin as metaphors." Light rose through the ring, shimmering like vapor. Elias felt a faint pressure against his temples, a whisper of connection, neither invasive nor cold. The display flickered. Holographic particles mapped his brainwaves in real time. As he concentrated on the knife, threads of energy linked the patterns to the artifact's glow. The frequency locked. The air trembled. Every atom in the chamber seemed to inhale. Suddenly the hologram expanded, revealing layers beneath the knife's physical surface, intricate fractal lattices rotating through higher dimensions. Elias gasped. "It's not metal," he whispered. "It's information, solidified memory." The curator inclined its head. "Precisely. The knife is a physical echo of knowledge itself." The realization struck him like cold sunlight. "That would mean," he said slowly, "it's older than matter. Older than time's linearity. Older than ignorance," the curator murmured. Around them, holographic panels rearranged into vast spirals of data, depicting waves that pulsed backward through space-time. Each ripple carried human DNA signatures, interlaced with unknown quantum harmonics. Yara's breath caught. Those readings, human markers, across cosmic epochs. Elias nodded faintly. "If the universe retains its learning through structure, maybe humanity is one of its recurring lessons." He glanced at the knife again. "And this object is the textbook." The resonance field pulsed brighter, wrapping him in a gentle pressure like the weight of deep water. Images flickered across his vision, ancient oceans boiling under new suns, crystalline beings crafting tools of light, and amid them, human silhouettes echoing familiar gestures. His pulse quickened. He was seeing not time but pattern, the repetition of intention, life learning how to survive. "It's not that we came after the stars," he whispered. "We came through them." Yara stared, wide-eyed. "You're suggesting humanity predates cosmogenesis?" "No," he said. "I'm suggesting consciousness does, and humanity happens to remember." The curator's harmonic voices filled the hall, blending in melodic discussion. "The artifact synchronizes with the human neural field," one said. "It transforms observation into resonance," another replied. "Then human cognition might be the missing constant of reality's evolution." Elias smiled faintly, awe dissolving his fear. "You mean the universe learns through us?" The lead curator inclined its translucent head. "Perhaps it is you." The lights dimmed as the knife's glow condensed into a thin beam that lanced upward, intersecting the museum's crystalline ceiling. Outside, the nebula flared, one vast slow heartbeat of light. Every being in the chamber fell silent. For the first time, Elias felt an absence of gravity, a perfect stillness where even thought seemed optional. The knife hung between potential and memory, humming with an intelligence too large for words. Then a whisper formed, not sound but certainty. "Remember what you are learning now," he gasped, staggering as the beam faded. The knife drifted back to calm equilibrium. Yara rushed forward. "Elias, what did it say?" He met her eyes, wonder softening his features. "Not to me," he murmured. "To all of us." The curators bowed their heads in solemn recognition. "The lesson continues," one repeated. The museum lights steadied and the knife floated again in quiet grace. Elias breathed slowly, grounding himself as the curators adjusted containment parameters. The harmonics had changed, the frequency now aligned with his own heartbeat. Even Yara, standing meters away, could hear the rhythm through the floor. "It's following you," she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "Or maybe it's reminding me I was following it." The lead curator activated a holographic model above the display, galaxies unfurling like blooming spirals, each marked by faint pulses, matching the knife's energy pattern. "Every instance of this frequency," the alien explained, "correlates with the emergence of complex life." Elias stared, the implication expanding in his mind. "You're saying, wherever life learns, this signal appears?" The curator inclined its head. "Not appears, awakens." Yara folded her arms, eyes narrowing in awe. "So the knife isn't just an object, it's a key, a code embedded in biology and physics alike." Elias nodded. "A universal signature of curiosity." He reached out, hand hovering above the containment field, and the light thickened in response, swirling in slow waves that traced the outline of his fingers. The knife vibrated softly, almost eager, as if urging him forward. "It wants to be used," he whispered. The curator's crystalline crest dimmed in apprehension. "Interaction risks destabilization." Elias looked at it, calm and resolute. "Knowledge always does." He touched the field. The barrier rippled, not resisting but accepting. The knife's glow expanded, swallowing reflection and distance, and suddenly the museum vanished. Elias found himself standing in a void full of light threads, each line a path of thought, looping and intersecting endlessly. He could feel others there, scientists, artists, children, echoes of human minds through history. They were learning, failing, trying again. It wasn't a vision of power. It was a map of persistence. Humanity's true constant. A shape emerged ahead, a vast lattice of crystalline geometry resembling the curator's architecture, but older, impossibly intricate. It pulsed with the same rhythm as his heart. "This is the framework of comprehension," a voice said. "Neither alien nor human, but both. You name it, science. We call it remembering." He understood then. Each species added layers to the same ancient construct, refining the universe's self-knowledge. The knife was not a weapon, but a lens that aligned awareness across civilizations. "So this is what it means to be human," he murmured. "Not the first, not the last, just the latest iteration of understanding." The lattice shimmered, then folded back into darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the museum. Yara stood beside him, shaking slightly. "You were gone," she whispered. "For hours." He looked around. Time had barely passed. The curators leaned close, scanning him with reverent fascination. "What did you perceive?" one asked. Elias smiled, a little dazed. "A memory the universe keeps writing with every mind that dares to learn." The alien's frills brightened, almost joyful. "Then humanity's lesson is far from over." The knife dimmed to a steady glow again, no longer dangerous, simply alive, waiting. Elias turned to Yara, his voice soft but sure. "Tell Earth this isn't an artifact of the past. It's a preview of what we can become." She nodded slowly, eyes reflecting the nebula light beyond the glass. Around them, the museum felt changed, not by catastrophe but by comprehension. The curators began recalibrating instruments, preparing to share their findings with the wider galactic archives. For the first time, humans were not students at the edge of alien knowledge. They were contributors. Elias placed a hand on the railing, feeling the faint pulse of the knife through the metal. "Lesson continues," he whispered again, this time as a promise. The nebula outside pulsed in slow rhythm with the knife's light, turning the entire museum into an organ of quiet motion. The curators moved with ritual precision, their transparent limbs guiding streams of data into the vault's core archive. Elias watched their work with fascination. For the first time, alien and human technology operated as one seamless system. Yara stood beside him, eyes flicking between her wrist scanner and the artifact's containment field. "Earth's quantum network just picked up the resonance," she said. "They're getting the signal in real time." Elias smiled faintly. "Then we've already started teaching." The lead curator approached, its crystalline crest shimmering in the dim blue light. "We have verified correlation between your neural activity and the universe's pulse," it said. "It is not transmission. It is synchronization." Elias tilted his head, intrigued. "Meaning?" "Meaning you are not sending information," the alien explained. "You are remembering in parallel with creation." He breathed out slowly, overwhelmed yet calm. The knife's glow shifted toward softer tones, amber, almost human warmth. It felt like acknowledgement, the way an old teacher might nod at a promising student. In the next hour, the museum became a laboratory of communion. Arrays unfolded from the ceiling, projecting threads of resonance that connected to nearby stars. The data showed impossible coherence. The knife's vibration mirrored solar magnetic flux across light years. "It's knitting knowledge into energy," Yara whispered. "Every pulse carries structure." Elias placed his palm near the field again. "It's teaching the cosmos how to remember us." The curator nodded. "And we will preserve the pattern." The alien paused, then added quietly, "If we survive the consequence." A tremor rippled through the hull. Alarms rippled in harmonic tones. The containment field surged brighter, resonance cascading faster than prediction. "It's amplifying itself," Yara shouted. "The feedback's exponential." Elias stepped toward the control ring, eyes intent. "No, it's stabilizing a gateway." He could feel it, a tug at the edge of perception, like curiosity given form. The curators hesitated, caught between fear and reverence. "Where does it lead?" one asked. Elias smiled faintly. "To the next question." He reached through the field, and for a heartbeat the knife hovered between universes. Then everything dissolved into light. He stood again in the lattice realm, but this time the geometry expanded infinitely, branching like neurons. Countless civilizations shimmered within it, each species' science, art, and thought, woven into one colossal structure of comprehension. A presence addressed him again. "Humanity's lesson is connection. Remember that knowledge unshared is silence." He nodded slowly, feeling the weight of it. "Then teach through us," he said. The lattice responded with a pulse that echoed across dimensions. When the light receded, he found himself back in the museum, surrounded by awestruck curators and Yara's trembling smile. The knife floated calm, the universe outside quiet and luminous. Elias looked around the hall, voice steady. "It's done learning for now. But it left us homework." Yara laughed softly, wiping at her eyes. "What kind?" "To keep asking better questions." The curator bowed low, crystalline tones ringing like music. Then the lesson continues. Outside, the nebula's light unfolded in a slow spiral, as if the stars themselves were writing in response. For 3 standard cycles, the museum became the quiet heart of a growing miracle. Across the galaxy, species reported strange harmonics resonating through their instruments, a faint hum encoded with mathematical elegance. Some dismissed it as interference, others as divine signal. To humanity, it was recognition, proof that they were part of a dialogue older than the cosmos. Elias watched the reports arrive, each data point a soft spark of affirmation. The knife had not spoken again, but its pulse continued, steady as breath. He could feel it even in sleep, a rhythm syncing thought and time. Yara joined him by the observation window, eyes following the slow turn of the nebula. "They're calling it the Rane pattern," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "The signal humans helped unlock." He smiled faintly. "We didn't unlock anything. We just listened carefully enough." The curators were still studying, but their tone had changed from control to reverence. They no longer treated the knife as an artifact, but as a participant, a colleague in the act of understanding. Elias sometimes caught them speaking softly to it, harmonic phrases like lullabies for newborn light. One day, the containment field flickered briefly, and a projection shimmered above the knife, a map of countless civilizations connected by thin lines of luminescence. At each node glowed a different color, a signature of learning. The human nodes burned a distinct gold. The lead curator turned to Elias, crystalline voice trembling with emotion. "The pattern grows," it said. "Your kind's curiosity accelerates resonance." He nodded slowly. That's what we do, turn questions into bridges. The alien's frills brightened. Then you are not merely students of existence. You are catalysts, Elias chuckled softly. Catalysts tend to burn fast. Let's hope we last long enough to see what we started. As the days passed, other artifacts across the museum began to react. Tools, fossils, even fragments of ancient architecture. They hummed with faint resonance, as though awakened by proximity to human presence. The curators documented meticulously, yet their reports carried phrases like gratitude and awe. It's contagious, Yara said once, reading the data. Learning itself is spreading. Elias watched the soft glow of the knife reflected in her visor. Maybe that's the point. The universe teaching itself through us. He touched the glass. Every question we ask echoes back as an answer we haven't yet learned to read. Then came the final calibration. The curators aligned their entire facility into harmonic focus with the knife. Light flowed through every corridor, weaving through crystalline conduits toward the central chamber. Elias stood before the artifact once more, feeling its warmth reach through the containment field, like sunlight on skin. The hum deepened into a single resonant tone that shook the air. He closed his eyes and whispered, "What now?" The reply wasn't sound, but emotion. Calm, steady, patient, continue. When he opened his eyes, the knife's glow had dimmed to near invisibility. Its mission complete for now. Silence settled, deep and reverent. The curators bowed as the resonance faded, their gestures fluid, almost human. "Lesson continues," they chorused softly. Elias turned to Yara, smiling through exhaustion. "It always does." She exhaled, watching the last light fade into the nebula's vast calm. "What will you tell Earth?" He thought for a long moment. "That the universe remembers us, not because we conquer it, but because we ask it to remember with us." Outside, the stars pulsed once more, faintly golden, as though nodding in agreement. Humanity's story had only just begun.